Jesus expects belief, doesn't he? He expects it, and apparently not seeing him is no excuse, even for those who knew him. Belief is hard. He expects belief, but my goodness, belief isn't easy, as it's described here, and as perhaps we know ourselves. Look how hard it is, even for those who are close to him. And look what gets in the way for the two disciples today. They're described as moving away from Jerusalem, away from the community of Jesus' followers. They had set a course they reversed after encountering and believing in Jesus. They were moving in this direction, encountered him, came to believe in him, and reversed their direction and went the other way. The disciples, in their unbelief, were going the wrong way. There's the first quality that emerges, unbelief, moving in a direction that is apparently wrong. And then he questions them, and they stopped. And how are they described? As downcast, as sad. There's another quality that emerges. Unbelief sets us off in the wrong direction in a state of sadness, of being downcast. And then the disciples give voice to the reason. Jesus, he was a prophet, a mighty prophet. We might interject, just a prophet. Jesus was a prophet. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. And he's dead, and his body's been taken away. Their hopes do not match up with the reality that God provided for them, which was beyond their limited imagination. They clung to their ideas and were disappointed when God went beyond what they could see. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem, to save Israel. From what, we might ask? From the Romans, likely. Not from death. That hadn't even crept into their consciousness. They had projected their desires onto God and were downcast and moving in the wrong direction. We were hoping, they said, in disappointment. We were hoping that he would take care of the coronavirus by now. We were hoping graduation would still take place. We were hoping our marriage would be better. We were hoping our lives would look different. Here's an example from my own life. I still remember it vividly. It was 2014. I'd been a priest for not quite 80 years. I was at the monastery where I still go for spiritual direction when social distancing isn't in effect. And it was the eve of my entrance to that monastery. I'd been thinking about religious life for many years, and the Archbishop had given me permission to go. I was in spiritual direction, talking with my director, a priest, about my desire for God. And he picked up on that theme and said that intimacy with God has something to do with allowing God to love us. It's good. Take the term God in its deeper sense. God is life, love, truth, goodness, beauty itself. Intimacy with God has something to do with allowing truth, goodness, beauty, love itself to love us. I typically finish the time of direction with confession, and I had examined my conscience that day. But that comment from my director broke on me like a thunderclap. I had been defining the ways by which God could love me, by which goodness, love could love me. These pleasant things, the quiet, the reading, the chanting, the liturgy, yes, he can access me that way. The adversity of things, parish Just thinking about those things left me sad, confused. I've been defining the ways by which God could love me, thus defining something of who he is. I was imposing limits on him. Here in the quiet, you have access to me and I to you. There in those other things, you don't. I was imposing limits on God, which in the end imposed limits on me. I was up most that night. And the next day, I surprised that poor abbot who was expecting me to sign on the dotted line and ended up returning to the parish. Look at the mess we get ourselves into. We begin by defining God down to meet our expectations, which vary according to time, place, circumstances, moods. And when God disappoints, well, we give up, put a pause on prayer, and set off in a different direction, only to find ourselves rather sad and confused. And the way out? Our story suggests the way out comes through a living voice that interprets the scriptures, a voice that we can hear with our ears. And it comes by the ritual action of the breaking of bread, which apparently has the capacity to help us see Jesus, to see how he expands the hopes and horizons of our lives, setting us off in a better direction.